Hi, hello. You are watching Residential Status and Incidence of Tax. This lecture is helpful for the ICAA students as well as graduates who are learning the taxation in their BCom level or BBM level or MCom level. Okay. See, now we are talking about the residential status and incidence of tax. The residential status means if a person stays in India and if a person stays outside India on the basis of their total stay, he will be decided as a resident or a non-resident. So the residential status and the nationality both are different aspects in any country. In USA or UK, Canada, Japan, in any country, the income tax acts are different. Automatically, the residential status and determination of residential status principles are also different. Residential status and nationality both are different in any country. So nationality is not a matter here. Okay. Nationality is not a matter here. Next, this is because any other nation also, any other nation, an individual who is related to USA, who is a national in USA, he become a resident in India. He become a resident in India. For example, an Indian may be a non-resident. An Indian citizen may become a non-resident. An American nation may become a resident. So nationality does not a matter in determination of residence status. Only one thing is helpful. The residential status is determined. The residential status is determined on the basis of on the basis of stay stay in India. Okay, stay in India. For example, US person comes to India. US person stayed in India. He become a resident. May become a resident. Become a resident. In the same sense, an Indian citizen stays somewhere abroad. Maybe he become a non-resident. So the residential status is very important. Please understand the stays and duration, it's only for the individuals, but whereas the company and firms cannot move from one country to other country. So only for individual can move. So this is, I'm talking about only individuals, not for the industries and firms. When come to the our definitions, an individual is said to be resident in India if he satisfies any one of the following two conditions. Please understand, I am mentioned here or says that he must satisfy one condition or second condition, first condition or second condition, then only he become a resident. If not, if he does not satisfies both the conditions, he become a non-resident. Okay, if he satisfies, an individual is said to be a resident in India if he satisfies any one. The first condition is he is in India, his total stay in India for a period of 182 days or more. The minimum of 182 days he must stay in India to become a resident. Okay, so all of us, in all of our Indians are staying, not going to anywhere. They are continuously staying in India. Okay, since 30 years, 40 years, they are not going to other countries, they are not staying in other countries. So it's in a year 365 days they are living at least 182 days na. So they are living full year, so they become resident. And it's a we can say that they are ordinarily resident without any consideration, without any calculations. Since my birth childhood I am staying in India, my birth is Indian, till now I am India. Okay, means it means ordinarily I become a resident. There is no need to calculate because I never stayed in any other country. So simply ordinarily resident. So if a person, any individual his total stay is more than 182 days in India in the relevant previous year. Okay, what is the relevant previous year now? Now our financial year is 2013 and 2014. Okay, this is our financial year. So before this, 2012 and 2013 means, please remember, it is always starting from April 1st to March 31st. So our relevant, current means relevant previous year is, that is 1st April 2012 to 31st March 2012. So if a person stays from 1 3 2012 to 31, it's wrong, sorry, it's wrong, 1 4 1 4 1 4 2012 to 31st 3 2013. If his total stay during these particular 2 points, if it is more than 182 days, he become a resident. Am I right? Yes, very good. Next is, if he not satisfied this, he come to this, that is the individual total stay is first more than 60 days, more than 60 days, and he must satisfy one more condition, that is an individual, he must satisfy first condition this, or if not, he must satisfy two conditions. One is the current previous year he must stay 60 days plus, and has been in India for a period of 365 days or more during the four previous years immediately preceding to the relevant previous year. Immediately preceding to the relevant previous year. What is our previous year now? 2012, 13. In this year, he must stay 60 days, minimum 60 days. Plus, not only this, he must stay remaining four previous years. What are they? 12, 13 is the previous year. Before that, 11, 12, next 10, 11, next 9, 10, 9, 10, next 8, 9. Okay, this is the previous year. This is the immediately preceding to the relevant previous year. 1, 2, 3, 4. Four previous years. In these four previous years, the total stay must be 365 days. 365 days. Okay. So the first basic condition, he must stay 182 days, or if not satisfied this condition, his total stay will be 60 days in current previous year plus 365 days in four previous years, in four preceding previous years. He must satisfy these two or this one, 182 days or these two. So he become a resident. If not anyone, if not this, he is not satisfied these two, then he become a non-resident. If he is not satisfying these two, he become a non-resident. Again, I am reading the conditions. Okay, the first condition, an individual is said to be a resident. An individual is said to be a resident. He must satisfy any one of the following two conditions. The first condition is he must stay minimum of 182 days in the relevant previous year. Okay, in the relevant previous year, or he must stay 60 days in the relevant previous year and 365 days in the four previous years, in the four previous years, 365 days in the four previous years immediately preceding to the relevant previous year. This is the primary condition. These are the primary two conditions. If you have any doubt, please ask me. Okay, very good, thank you. Well, the second is, he become a resident now. If he satisfies any one condition, he become a resident in India. Resident. The next one is, he will be resident and ordinary resident in India. ordinary resident is another point. He will be a resident and ordinary resident both. Already he become a resident. Now we are checking whether he is ordinary resident and not ordinary resident. I already told you ordinary resident means I'm in India from my birth. So I am ordinarily resident. Then we will check whether he is in India from the birth or he stayed in any other country some more time or years together. If he stays, he became a resident only, but not resident. So after completion of the primary conditions, only if he satisfies any one of the primary condition, he will become a resident. If only resident, we need to check this. If not resident, then we will stop the calculation. After, if he become a resident, we will check another condition, another conditions. Those conditions are called as additional conditions, not primary conditions. Next, the first additional condition is whether he is resident and ordinary resident. Resident, you know, already he became a resident because he stayed 182 or he stays 60 plus 365 for 4 preceding previous years. This is over. We are calculating whether he is ordinary or not ordinary resident. Come. Are you following? Okay, good. He has been resident in India for at least 2 out of 10 previous years. 2 out of 10 previous years immediately preceding to the relevant previous year. So to become a ordinary resident, he must be a resident at least just a second. Okay, sorry. He has been resident in India for at least 2 out of 10 years. He must be a resident in India at least 2 years in last 10 previous years. In last 10 previous years means, for example, our previous year is 2012, 2013. Not this. From here to previous 10 years. Previous 10 years. Any 2 years he must be resident. And plus from here to here 10 years are there na? Only we are taking 7 years. In 7 years he must be stay at least 730 days. 730 days in 7 years. Not at a time. All the days whatever we are calculating are not at a time. Not at a stage. For example, he stayed in April 10 days, May 30 days, June 20 days. Everything will be calculated, not at a stage. He may stay few days in 1 year, few days in 1 month. Everything will be calculated. So the important point is here. First, we should identify whether he is a resident or not. If he is a resident, what are the points helpful to become a resident? First, to become a resident, his total stay during the previous year must be more than 182 days. First point. Or if not, his total stay 60 days during the previous year plus at least 365 days during 4 preceding previous years. This or this anyone must satisfy. He become a resident. After become a resident, we need to calculate, we need to determine resident. Already after the calculation of resident, we need to calculate whether he is ordinarily resident or not. To become an ordinary resident, first point is he must become a resident. Okay. After that, we will calculate the ordinary resident or not. The first point is to become an ordinary resident. At least 2 years he must be a resident. For 2 years he must be a resident out of 10 years. Okay, 10 years immediately preceding to the relevant previous year, preceding to the relevant previous year. And you should satisfy one more condition to become ordinary resident. You need to satisfy two of these additional conditions. Additional condition 1, additional condition 2. That is, at least his total stay must be 730 days in India or more during 7 years immediately preceding to the current previous year, immediately preceding to the relevant previous year. First satisfaction is, if he satisfies any one of these two, he become a resident. But to become ordinary resident, he must satisfy these two, not anyone, these two. For example, he satisfied these two primary conditions and not satisfied these two conditions, then he become a resident but not ordinary resident. Understand? If he satisfied this, he become a resident. If not satisfied these conditions, these two conditions, he will become not ordinary resident, but resident. So resident but not ordinary resident. Understand? Next is a resident but not ordinary resident. Means he satisfied resident conditions and not satisfied any of the additional conditions. Basic condition is, one basic condition is satisfied, but two additional conditions are there, na, A1 and A2. What are they? They are 2 by 10 resident. He must be a resident in 2 years out of 10 preceding to the relevant previous year, and 730 by 7 years. Okay, these are the important conditions to understand. So once again I am telling you, to become a resident, this is important. To become a resident, basic condition, any one of the basic condition he must satisfy. Any one of the basic condition he must satisfy. What are the basic condition? That is 182 or 60 plus 365. This is the important keyword. Basic condition is equal to 182 days he must stay in India, or 60 plus 360 days in the previous year, 60 days in the previous year, and 365 days in the last 4 years. This is the primary condition. If he satisfies this or this, he become a resident. After become a resident, we are calculating whether he is an ordinary resident or not ordinary resident. For that, he must be a resident in 2 years out of 10 years, and his total stay during the 7 years must be more than 730 days. Means one basic condition, both additional condition. A person satisfies one additional condition, any one of basic condition. If a person satisfies any one of the basic condition and both additional conditions, he will become a resident and ordinary resident. If not, non-resident. If he did satisfies any one of these basic and primary, he become a non-resident. And next, not ordinary resident. One basic condition is satisfied, anyone, 182 or 60 plus 365, anyone. If he satisfies, he become a resident. And one or none of the additional conditions. He satisfied only one additional condition, that is 2 by 10 he satisfied, but not 730 by 7. He didn't satisfied. So he is only a resident but not resident. If a person not satisfies this, both basic conditions, he become a non-resident. Non-resident. Okay. If a person not satisfied any one of the primary condition, he will be considered as a non-resident. So primary conditions are also called as basic conditions. So we have only 3 here, very easy. One is resident. A person satisfied any one of the primary conditions means 182 days or 60 plus 365 in 4 previous years, 60 in previous year only. Next, ordinarily resident. A person is ordinarily resident if he satisfies one basic condition and both additional conditions. Means he satisfies 182 days or 60 plus 365 days, and he is a resident in 2 years in last 10 years, and his total stay is 730 or more in last 7 years, so he is ordinarily resident. And the next is not ordinarily resident. Not ordinary resident. If a person not ordinary resident, if a person satisfies only one condition but not two primary conditions or one of the primary conditions, he become a not ordinary resident but a resident. Okay, and non-resident means not satisfied any one of the basic conditions. So we have only three: ordinary resident, not ordinary resident, and non-resident. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for the patience. If you have any doubt, please contact me on my mail ID, that is I am writing here. I think you understand. I hope you understand some basics. Okay, so because we have a short time, that is the reason we are going very fast. If you have any doubts, please contact me. All the viewers, if you have any doubt, please contact me, Dr. Yogender at Gmail. Sorry, Dr. Yogender, YUGENDHAR at Gmail. Okay, thank you. Bye. Happy reading. Thanks. Bye now.